Hey guys, welcome to another masterclass. I'm your host, Bonnie Kelly. So this is actually another recording that I'm doing just for you guys in the replay. We had some technical difficulties in the recording process of the actual live masterclass, and it was an epic conversation today. So I encourage you next month, if you have a chance, to join that masterclass and the live and get some really powerful coaching. The conversation was just brilliant today when it comes to this idea of letting go. So while I'm still in that energetic high, I decided to kind of go through these slides for you, do a mini class, a mini master class for you as a repeat, just for those of you who couldn't make the live version of it as well. Now remember, we do those master classes the third Thursday of every single month. So you want to make sure that you are connected in with that as well. Okay, let's get started. So just as a reminder, whether you're on the live version or watching a recording, is to always turn off any distractions that are running in the background. You want to be fully present so you can hear the words and the inspiration and get the nuggets you need to change. So let's talk for a brief moment. If this is the first chance that you've got to know me and who I am as a teacher, I am an inspirational teacher, author, and coach, and that teaches everything under the umbrella of emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence really is this ability to be less reactive and more interactive. I always say it's my job to help you get out of your way so you can get on with your life. Now, what has inspired me to become this coach that has worked with thousands of people all over the world into changing their thought patterns and their belief patterns, to unleashing their subconscious limitations and beginning to step into their true authentic power? Well, that's a little bit of a longer story. I encourage you to actually grab a copy of my best-selling book, True to Your Core, which you can find on Amazon. Just Google Bonnie Kelly. This is where I share with you my personal story of dysfunction and abuse, where I've spent many years of my life addicted to drugs, in and out of jail, and in and out of rehab, where I found myself just living a life that was fueled by this belief of worthlessness and that I wasn't enough. So if you could imagine, when I believed that about myself, the jobs that I would take, the people that I would date, and the opportunities that I would create in my life were in alignment with these dysfunctional beliefs. Now, those beliefs got installed in my mind in accident through abuse, betrayal, and neglect. Just like a lot of you are operating on these beliefs that you're not enough, that you're a failure, that you're weak, that you're not loved, that you don't matter. Well, a lot of those beliefs get installed in your mind on accident, but yet they're the controlling factor to why we self-sabotage and why we struggle in our everyday life. And it can be changed. So hopefully that has inspired you. If you want to learn more about how that can change, watch some of our other videos. As I mentioned, grab a copy of my book. You can watch dozens, if not 100 videos on YouTube to help you get out of your way. We have an immense amount of free content that is out there just for you to help you shift and change. So let's talk about letting go, because that's why we're here today. It's like, what are you holding on to that does not serve you? Now, I want you to take a moment. If you're watching this recording, I need you to pause and really ask yourself, what are you holding on to that does not serve you? Maybe it's a relationship that you're holding on to. That was a big part of the conversation we had in the live version of this. Maybe it is a belief. Maybe it is a job. Maybe it is a story that you tell. Maybe it is a bad habit, whether it's emotional eating, whether it's sabotaging your fitness and nutrition, whether it is finding yourself, I don't know. What are you holding on to, right? Ask yourself that. And when you can really tap into that, what are you holding on to? Now that I want you to use that information as I guide you through the rest of this video. So what are you holding on to that does not serve you? And then we want to ask ourselves, what's the purpose does this serve? Right? What is the purpose? Now, that's a harder question. However, it's a necessary question when it comes to personal development. In fact, if you join me for any of our classes, I'm going to ask you this over and over and over again. What purpose does this serve? What purpose? Because the reality is we don't do anything without a purpose, even the dysfunctional things in our life. right? Even the ways that we're holding back, that we're playing small, that we're not being authentic, that we are, that we know is bad for us. Logically, we get that this relationship does not serve us, but we just haven't been able to let it go. But there's a purpose of why you haven't let it go. Now, the purpose could be to protect you. That purpose could be because it's familiar. That purpose could be because that's just what you know or what you expect, or you don't feel that you deserve better. Or it could just be that this is how you're protecting yourself by not using your voice, by not speaking up. Or this is how you stay safe or you cope. But there's a purpose, and we want to get away from the surface level answer reasons. And those are usually because my mom told me that's how I had to be. Okay, that's probably where it came from, but we want to get a little bit deeper than that, because that anything that's a you statement, that they won't let me, right? That's going to be a reason, but we want to get into a deeper understanding of why, like what purpose is it serving in your heart and in your soul? So this could feel kind of like a daunting task, right? It could feel like something that you're just chasing after, trying to understand, and you're going in circles about. Really what you want to do is just quiet your mind and quiet your heart, because we need to find stillness in the chaos that surrounds whatever it is that you need to let go. You need to find stillness in the chaos that it surrounds whatever you need to let go. Because if it was as easy as just letting it go, you would do it. But the truth is that we really haven't gotten quiet enough to connect with the understanding of why we can't or haven't been able to really release this behavior, release these thoughts, release these patterns. And so until we begin to really quiet ourselves and connect into the divine purpose, like how is this serving me? How is it protecting me? Not just how it's limiting me, but how is it protecting and serving me? And it's most likely serving you in a dysfunctional way, but the brain is probably thinking that's the best way. And we have to know what that is. And so let's talk about 3 of the main reasons why we actually hold on, to give you some more intel to hopefully explore that question further. One is could because of expectations, right? It could be part of the expectations that your parents or society has taught you, or it's just conditioning that this is the way you should behave, that this is what is expected of you, that you can't leave this relationship because you have children, or you can't leave this relationship because you're married and you made a commitment, or you can't leave this job because your boss has helped you at some point, and you never, ever disappoint people who have helped you, right? There could be some expectation here of what you should be doing. And anytime you hear the word should, it's a good indicator that there is an unspoken expectation that is surrounding the reasonings of why you're staying stuck or you haven't let it go. So you want to explore if there's any of these elements in why you haven't been able to shift. Of course, the big one, the big F word, right? And not the F word, but this F word, right? Which is fear, right? It's the fear of rejection, abandonment, abuse, neglect, loss, failure, being less than, looking stupid, feeling that you don't matter. There's always could be fear that is surrounding the purpose, surrounding the reason. But I like to think of like the fear is the emotion. It's like the fuel, and it's the fuel that's feeding the thoughts that are holding you captive. But at the end of the day, this is still just the expression of something deeper. Did you hear that? Fear is the expression of something deeper. And that deeper belief or that deeper thought could be that you truly feel that you're not worthy, or that you don't deserve, or that you don't matter, or you're not capable. Well, the fear is going to show up with all the outward reasons why you can't do something and why you need to stay and why you can't let go. But underneath that is really these insecurities and these belief systems that are holding us hostage. And that's ultimately, when I say what's the purpose, what we want to discover and get connected to. The last one is also familiarity. If you think of your brain kind of like a machine, right? That's a machine that's working on autopilot. One of the conversations we were having was that logically, this woman I talked to knew that this relationship does not serve her. She gets that she needs to leave it. She absolutely understands that this is not what is in her best interest. But then her emotionally, she can't say no. She can't resist it, right? And that she will find herself doing things that are out of alignment with what she knows she needs to do. Well, a part of it is because that's just behavioral patterns. It had been over 5 years now that she's been playing this game or dancing with these emotions. And so the brain is like, when I feel this, when I think this, then I'm going to do this. And so it starts operating on this autopilot, kind of auto mechanism behavior. Now, this is true even with emotional eating. All right, is that every time you feel stressed or worried or disappointed or sad or even insecure, that if the habit is to go straight into the cabinet, grab some bonbons and go sit on the couch and numb out to TV, right, that is going to be what you know. That's your safe place. Now, you might not even catch yourself until the entire bag or box of Girl Scout cookies is gone, but you're going to find yourself all of a sudden in this space where you're like, oh crap, like I just sabotaged my diet and nutrition. So that could just be familiar for you. That's a safe place. That's how you cope with these things. And so your brain just goes on these automatic processes. And we'll talk a little bit later when we get to the resolve part of being able to shift or change these things, of how we can start to do some pattern interrupting to change these automatic responses. So how do we begin to release? How do we begin to just release this belief, release this person, release this job, release this story? Well, that's going to take a little bit of time. And the truth is, it's not going to be easy, especially if it's something you've held on to for decades. Now, be honest with yourself. How long have you held on to this? Now, maybe the situation's new, but overall, the experience of what you're holding on to is something that has been very familiar to you for most of your life. That's when it becomes more of a challenge. Now, I don't want to plant the seed that it's going to be hard or difficult, but I do want to plant the seed that it's not always just a one-time choice. And it's something that we're going to have to go over and over again. But at the end of the day, it's totally worth it. Why? Because you're totally worth it. Did you hear that? Yeah. I know some of your inner critics and your inner gremlins are like, BS, baloney, I'm not worth it. And the reality is, yes, you are. Just remember that if that's where your mind goes, that's just defective programming that needs to be shifted and changed. Now, if that's something you're like, yeah, I hear you, Bonnie, then maybe you need to kind of come hang out with us a little bit longer. We have a year-long program to help you really step into your truth. We've got all kinds of different classes and things that are available for you to help you truly know at your core that you are worth it, so you're not sabotaging any further. Okay, so let's pause and reflect, okay? How would your life be different if you could let this go? Let's pause for a moment and really reflect on this. How could your life be different? So once we connected into the fear, we've connected into the purpose, we're really kind of evaluating like where you're limited and where that this is hindering you. We need to also think about, okay, what is the possibility if I could let this go? What could change for me? What could improve? How could I improve? How could my life or my thought or my energy or even just the essence of who I am be better or different? So I want you to really noodle on that for a few moments, because we have to create the vision of something better than what we have, so we have something to hold on to when things get tough. If we're not connected to the new result and the desired change, it's going to be very easy to get lost in the weeds when things get challenging. All right, so here's how we begin to shift. All right, now I've already been alluding to this, but this is how we break it down. The first thing we need to do is we need to get to the root. We need to understand the reasons why you haven't let this go. And when I say that you need to understand it, I'm saying that you need to understand it without judgment. Okay, is I get out of the, well, I should know betters, and get out of the I'm weak and I'm pathetic and I'm this, and really just look at this and say, okay, what is really going on here? Like, what is really holding me back? Why do I keep getting sucked into this? Because if you don't understand the purpose of it, then we're not going to be able to shift it. And for a lot of us, it's not, we make it so personal when it's not a personal thing at all. It's just conditioning. It's just programming. It's just our inner child who is terrified and frightened and is trying to protect us in a very dysfunctional way. Now, it's not ideal. And obviously, your adult version of yourself is like, this sucks. I don't want to deal with this anymore. But we want to get out of this situation sucks versus I suck, right? The just because I make a mistake doesn't make me a mistake kind of attitude. That we want to separate that what you're dealing with isn't because you are pathetic or weak or not capable. It is just that we haven't connected with and truly evaluated the core of why we haven't let this go yet. There's just some kind of program within our minds that is holding on. And we have to explore what that is. And so I want you to just unhook from the judgment and really explore this in more depth with love and grace. So we want to ask ourselves then, where did this fear and conditioning come from? As I mentioned earlier, there's a good chance that for many of you that this is maybe a new experience, but this has been a lifelong lesson. And so we really want to explore that version of it. Like, why do I keep repeating this if this is something you're repeating? If this is a new thing for you, then we have to really explore, okay, what's different here? All right, what has been newly introduced or what's newly triggered, and where does this, where are these fears and insecurities coming from? Because the truth is, it's not coming from the from the experience itself. It's coming from the inner world of something much deeper. And then, what is your fear trying to protect you from? What is your fear trying to protect you from? Again, fear is just the outward expression of an inward crisis. And so the fear is there trying to protect you, is trying to warn you about something. It's trying to get you to play small for a reason. And we have to really see what that is. And again, we want to explore with really connecting into our hearts and minds of what's limiting and blocking us, and not necessarily connecting into what the judgment is or blame of other people. We want to get out of blame, and we want to really connect inward a lot deeper. Next, we're going to say, what are your other reasons why you hold back? So this is like where we look for anything else. What are the other excuses? What are the other stories that you tell? What are the other reasons that you're giving yourself and others of why you can't let this go? And then once you've identified those, you need to find what the purpose of those are as well. Again, the getting to the root means that we're not just going to write out an answer and leave that stone unturned. You need to take that answer and dissect it. You need to deeply and intimately understand the reasonings, the whys, the whats, the whos, the whens, and the wheres of that reason. And when we can dig deeper and we can actually get truly honest with ourselves and really take kind of more of a bird's eye perspective of these reasons, we're going to be able to have much better results when it comes to understanding why we do what we do. And so you want to, or why we say what we do, why we allow these excuses to be the reason. And when you really dig into it, I bet you're going to find that there is a purpose to everything that you think. All right. So next, what we're going to do is now once we've got to the root, and I mean you've got to the root, now we can begin to release. Now the releasing is a little bit trickier because it's not just releasing the emotions. A lot of times it's also releasing the story and the thoughts that we have that limit or keep you prisoner. This means you have to explore, okay, what story have I been telling of why I can't let this go? Go back to your reasons, right? What other stories do I have trapped around this? Maybe what old stories? Okay, maybe you've been there before and you just don't want to do it again, right? So you've been telling yourself, I know where this is going to go. I know what this outcome's going to be. And then whatever other trapped emotions, maybe you're feeling anger, guilt, shame, or guilt, or regret. And so if you have these trapped emotions, especially if those emotions are attached to a story, then that's what we need to work on releasing. Now, releasing can be a tricky thing because a lot of times we have such a deep emotional connection to it that it's hard for us to truly just release. We're afraid that if we do let this go, that it lets the other person off the hook. It pardons them, or we're agreeing to or condoning whatever the behavior is. Well, that's not the truth. Releasing is for you. Okay, releasing these trapped emotions is for you to have mental and emotional freedom. You can release the story that you're telling yourself that limits and hinders you and still hold other people accountable. That is 100% within your power. So you can release this story that because I was abused is why I can't trust. You can release that story and then still hold the abusers accountable for their behavior. But you don't have to use that as an excuse to punish everyone you come in contact with. Does that make sense? Is that we really do want to recognize that how it's holding us back in all ways, just not in some ways. You also can release by forgiving. Now, forgiveness is a messy, messy topic. If it's something that you really struggle with, then I recommend you going over to my website. It's mindfumasters.com, and it's mind, M-I-N-D-F-U, masters.com. So mindfu is kind of like kung fu for the mind, masters.com, and check out the forgiveness course that I have available over there, because I have a radical different understanding of what forgiveness is and isn't. And when we can begin to get out of this space or place where we're forgiving for others, or it means that we're releasing them, or we have all these conditions and expectations attached to forgiveness, and we recognize that, again, forgiveness is releasing emotions, which is a gift you give yourself, but we focus on really learning and growing. How can I learn and grow? So we don't repeat the behavior. Now you're truly forgiving from an empowered space, and it's a necessary step to either forgive yourself or the others so we can truly let go of whatever the situation is. And then what is a better way you can think about this? Now, this is an important piece, is that, again, if we're not connecting to the higher vision of the result that you desire, we're going to get lost within the weeds, because, again, it can be messy. And it can be difficult, and it can be challenging sometimes, especially when we commit to something and we fail, or especially when we say we're gonna not call this person, and then you find yourself at 2 a.m. calling them because you had a shitty day, right? Or we say that we're going to stick to our diet, and then we find ourselves sitting on the couch and after eating an entire plate of bonbons, right? So we want to recognize, or we need to constantly be connecting back into this higher vision of a better way you can think and feel, a better vision of what it is that your life could be like. So that way you can go back to that when you have those moments where things get challenging or tough. Okay. Now let's get into the resolve. Now, resolve is the final step. Resolve is where now we create a resolution within ourselves. Now, if you really think of what it means to be resolved, it means completely committed to. It is drawing this resolution that is saying that this is an absolute choice that I am making for myself. And this is where we are pulling back our personal power. So when it comes to letting go, after we've got to the root of why you can't do it, we've released the story and trapped emotions that are connected behind it. Now we can get serious with what we commit to doing moving forward. And we consciously choose, what are you going to do? What do you choose? Now, here's the thing. It is okay if in this moment you're consciously choosing to not want to change this. Maybe you're not feeling that you're strong enough or that you have what you need to let this person go yet. Then you need to consciously just be okay with that choice and say, I'm choosing to just stay in this relationship that I know doesn't serve me right now. And we want to add the language right now, because we want to recognize that this doesn't mean it's permanent. Okay? So we want to either just commit to the thing that doesn't serve us, or commit to actually letting it go. Now, the letting go process, again, is going to be challenging, because it's not something you can make as a one-time commitment and ta-da, you're done. It's a choice that you're going to have to make over and over again. Why I bring that up is because I want you to recognize that when you're making that conscious choice, that there's going to be opportunities for failure. That your old programming, what has been familiar to you, outside influencers can cause you to slip up and make those mistakes and go back to whatever it is that you committed to letting go of. I encourage you to stay out of judgment, to stay out of blame. And when that happens, is to go back to the drawing board. Get back to the root. What was the reason? What was the purpose of this? How did what influenced me into making that decision? Okay, what do I need to release? What do I need to shift? What do I need to change? And then what is my commitment again? So it's like every time you go back through these 3 steps, you come back to making this choice again, you make this choice again, you make this choice again. So then that way you truly are able to connect in deeper with this choice. It's going to get stronger each time you do it, and you're not going to make the same mistakes over and over again. It's really powerful process, because at the end of the day, you get to decide how you want to think and feel. Now, the thoughts and feelings that you have directly influence the behavior. Well, if you're not consciously aware of what you think and feel, you're not going to be equipped to change the behavior. This is why getting to the root and releasing is such an important step before you get to resolve. We have to get to the root of why you're doing what you're doing. We have to be able to release the attachment to the reasons of why you do what you do, so we can then consciously choose a better way to think and feel about what you decide you want to do moving forward. Okay, so this is how we can begin to truly shift and mold and begin to step into a better version of ourselves. The choice is always yours. The choice is always yours. You get to choose the life that you want to create. And recognizing that every time that you slip up is just a new opportunity for a new choice. And sometimes we just don't know all the answers in advance. We can't premeditate that stress could be a trigger that causes you to behave or to feel a certain way, right? Until we sabotage ourselves. But as long as you're getting back into evaluating the root, releasing the old behaviors and get our stories, and then getting back into making the choice again, you're going to get stronger and stronger and stronger within that decision. And you'll finally be able to let this go. You'll finally be able to just let it go. So that's the process. That's what I hope that you have really gotten something out of this. If you have questions, email me. All right, send a response to the email that led you to this page. You can also hit me up on social media. Right, I'm always here to support you guys through your process. You're also welcome to join us to the next live call. Again, we do these master classes every single month. They're typically about 60 minutes. This one is just kind of a recap video for you because we just weren't able to record it earlier. And I encourage you to just to reach out, because that's how you're going to connect with us, and that's how you're going to be able to make the changes that you desire. So hopefully you have learned something. Don't forget, you could always check us out at bonniekelly.me. So if you haven't been to our website yet, bonniekelly.me. So that is the website that has everything Bonnie Kelly. You can actually find the Mindful Master website right there, so you can connect into our forgiveness course. There's a ton of free content on that website, you guys. There's hundreds and hundreds of videos and lessons and classes that are designed to help shift and mold you into living the best life that you can imagine. If there's anything that I can support you with, classes will start back up again in January of next year. So if you know you're ready to really commit to your growth and your path, and you're looking for a teacher to teach you or a coach to help guide you through that process, then reach out to us. My team is happy to answer any of your questions, and we'd be happy to introduce you to some of the programs and classes that we have coming up for 2019. So I wish you all the best. And until then, we'll see you later.